Welcome to CMO's Off Script, where the conversations are as bold as our coffee and the insights as sharp as our wit. We're your hosts, Amanda, Bethany, Julia, Laura, and Nisha, 5 women with diverse perspectives on navigating the intricate world of healthcare marketing. Had enough of the same old marketing babble? Us too. We'll dive into one topic each week and serve up our unfiltered advice. Get ready for a fresh take on marketing. Welcome to CMO's Off Script. Today we're going to talk about AI, as you know. We're going to discuss why everyone loves AI and our personal experiences with it, as well as a focus on both marketing and sales, because we've got covering across the commercial purview in the B2B space, and we're kind of going to talk about where we're seeing the most interesting early results. So with that, I'm going to kick us off, and the answer to my first question better be yes, y'all. So are we using AI within your organizations and specifically within your marketing team? So we'll get to sales and other functions in just a minute, but are we using it? And who wants to kick us off there? Are we using it? Do we like it? Let's just launch.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to kick us off. So I think you're absolutely right. I think at this point, it's if you're not using it, you're not keeping up with the pace of the rest of the market. So you better be using it in some sort of fashion. I think the biggest change that I've seen is really when it comes to, and the way I use it the most is when it comes to market research and being able to drill down on large sets of data and give me exactly what I'm looking for. And so things like that could be, voice of the customer interview questions, or helping me build out personas. So really that like competitive intel market research piece that's so crucial to like some of the things that we forget to do as like the foundational elements because we're moving so fast. And one of the tools I love using for that, because sometimes when you're using GPTs, they're not always accurate, right? Disclaimer, for market research is Perplexity. And so if you all haven't used that yet, it's great to just fact check. So GPT gives you something about like a stat or, hey, people have the tendency to do X, Y, and Z. You take that, you go into Perplexity, and it will actually give you some tangible links and like verify that data for you. And so you know whether it's BS or not.
That's awesome.
Love that. That's great.
Yeah, that is really good.
So we've got research. Nisha is using it for research. Julia, what are you using it for?
We're using it for content atomization. So you create one asset, but you need to distribute it many ways. We're using Jasper AI to help us do that and, help us just write in a different, in the brand voice in a different channel. We are fortunate that content is one of our strengths. We have a lot of original research and original content that we do. And so breaking it up into smaller bite-sized chunks or distributing it in other places is the way that we're using Jasper.
And is your focus there cost cutting? Is it just like doing more with less for your team? Is it like what's your thought about when you use Jasper? Are you trying to find some kind of ROI in that use case?
Really it's around expedited or improved distribution, so not simply posting and saying we've shared this on the blog and it's good, or it's reset on LinkedIn. We want to make it much more usable throughout all of our different campaigns, throughout use cases, certainly in sales, communications for SDRs or for our area vice presidents. There's a number of different ways. So it's really around amplifying marketing more so than a cost-cutting measure. Because I feel that we have an opportunity to step up in that space, distribute more.
Amazing. Got it.
I think we use it similarly. So we use it for content research and for outline creation. We typically don't use it for long form content, but we'll take long form content and use it to slice it and dice it in different ways. But the other way I think AI has been really valuable, and I'm starting to call it my new best friend, is I think it's great for organizing my thoughts. So I kid you not, I saw it as a reel on Instagram. Yes, I have a problem with my phone. And somebody said for ADHD, which I don't technically have ADHD, but whatever, they're all advertising, that people use it to organize their busy thoughts. So, you've got all these ideas going on and you just drop it into a chat and it organizes it into a cohesive list and you can prioritize it, right? So I have it on my phone and I do start to use it that way. Like I'll drop ideas in it. I've been starting to use it to help shape the things I'm thinking about and want to work on. I drop it into chat and then it sort of punches out something back at me. And then I read it and I'm like, okay, well, but refine it, but change it this way. And it gives it back to me reshaped. And it's a great way to start to form projects, new ideas, sort of, take direction. And again, sort of that checklist idea of like, what are the things on my mind that I want to keep track of? So I think I love thinking of it as like my new best friend, honestly. I like sort of using it as a way to refine what I'm working on.
So for you, it's like a co-pilot model or like an assistant model versus like an agent doing things for you. It's assisting you. You're working together with AI. That's pretty cool. That's great. Amanda, what about you?
It's interesting. I think I'm a mix of several of these. I think what I've seen is very helpful as that co-pilot agent. I have also been using, tools like ChatGPT and Gemini. I will say, I went and started exploring beyond ChatGPT pretty early and found a friend in Gemini, the act previously known as Bard. But I find it actually has been really helpful for me as I'm doing competitive intel and competitive research, just to at least start to get a broader sense that, who are some of the competitors that are out there, particularly as I've been working with consulting clients to really think through like, all right, who do I need to know about? Who are the list of organizations that I should be aware of that are out there that are doing something potentially in an ancillary space, even if it's not directly competitive? I have places like LinkedIn that will tell me, okay, these are the direct competitors. And then I'll find other folks that are a little bit further out. And that's always helpful for me. I'm using it as a tool to try and gather insights on even things like, media, like how do I get, access to different media outlets? Who are some of the folks that I should be getting in touch with? And so starting to ask some questions around that to really do background research and competitive intel. In terms of other tools, like, I spend a lot of time talking with a lot of folks and hear folks using tools like Copy AI to support some of the very things that, around the same things that Julia, that you're using these content tools for, is really just to accelerate the distribution path and frankly, all of the different channels. I think at the end of the day, we're trying to reach a lot of different people and slice and dice the message to fit the specific audience that we're trying to reach. And so I think there's an opportunity there with tools, some of these AI tools to accelerate the pace of that. And frankly, I know in my past life, we talked a lot about digital being a tool to allow you to operate top of license. And so, I think this is another one of those things where can it enable you to operate top of license by accelerating the path to content development, delivery. So those are a few of the things that I've been looking at and working with.
You mentioned LinkedIn, and I love that story for competitive use cases. There's tools for AI that are built AI first. They've been created. Jasper, for example, is one we've mentioned a couple times. Writer is another. And then there's also our existing solutions that are now adding AI. So LinkedIn has Sales Navigator. They're now using AI on the back end to help ingest and surface more insights around buyers that may be researching you. And I'm using it for target account, surveillance to understand, where we should add key decision makers to our, outbound programming. And so I'm enjoying seeing AI pop up in lots of different places in the existing solutions that are already out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, plus one on that. I think my team is using AI and Shutterstock specifically for photo editing. So it's been great to be able to use like stock photography and alter it in ways that make it look a little more original, because it is from an AI generated perspective. And so we're using it in the creative fields quite often. We've also used it, so beyond photo editing and getting more usage out of both custom and stock photography, we're using it across just like event experiences. So I'm in organization that is very AI forward, just from a tool set perspective. And we've used it in events to, drive traffic to our booth, for instance. Like we did AI generated cocktail recipes at one event, and it was like real weird stuff. Like we had a mocha, or what was it? A matcha martini recipe, and then one that we called out of the black box, which was made with like, I don't know, some crazy ingredients. It ended up being a black drink. It was quite good. Lots of berries were used. But in any case, I think we're really actually exploring a lot on the creative side with AI that our team just needs that help with the brainstorming. So it's related to research, I think, is like using this for ways to come up with new and different ideas that could be more on brand, but like out of the box a little bit. So have you guys used it at all for like metrics or decision making, or mining your own data sets or anything like that?
This is one I'm interested in doing differently, and I am not, but I have some paths I'm pursuing.
I will say, there are everybody's friend, Salesforce. They have AI embedded in those tools, right? You think about things like, that platform, they've bought enough companies, they've got AI embedded, and I've absolutely used a lot of that already, throughout my time. They've been at that for a number of years. They started talking about Einstein years ago, and that's only accelerated the pace. So I think that there are things that are already embedded that we are using that we may not even realize are, that we're not having to pay extra for, that are actually delivering on that, helping accelerate the pace of getting insights and information out of the metrics and information that we're throwing in.
I think that's right. And it's a good segue probably into the sales side of this equation, around what on the sales side, but whether it's, chatbots or customer interface technology or, that kind of thing. Is anybody using that within their organizations on, to help with the actual like lower funnel sales side?
Yeah, we are. We are using a tool that helps, identify when a mid pipeline and earlier, of course, but mid pipeline target comes back to our digital content, and then we can surface that to the sales executive and action it if as needed, if appropriate. And that's been early days, but we're interested in the results. They're proving strong.
I'm going to double down. I think, exactly where Julia was headed. I think one of the biggest roles that can easily be disrupted with the power of all of the data that AI can generate for them are BDRs, are like your lower level sales folks who are pounding those phones, trying to get a connection. And when you think about discovery questions and qualification questions and all of those things that very early on, we used to like rack our brain and try to figure out like, what are the right questions to ask, how many, how to get a person on the phone call. That role in itself, I think has started, like Gen AI has started to automate some of those elements in which I could see, and I'm not, I think we'll get to the part where, is this going to take over that role? I don't know, but there's so many tools out there right now that have these chatbots that are available to start to act as a BDR component and then funnel the lead straight to the sales rep who's having the real conversation. And so I think that's a big area of disruption on the sales side.
Yeah, we're using Apollo.io to do some of that lead gen, like outreach to prospects using their database, and it's exactly what you're talking about. It's the automated, trigger driven, signal driven communication, and it also automates connections on LinkedIn. It's again, it's same. It's early days, but we're seeing some success, and we really like what we're seeing. So
I'm intrigued as to whether like the voice technology is actually quite good as well. And we've started using AI generated voices for voiceovers on videos and stuff like that. So I can only imagine when that gets to the point where there's like a robo caller, right? Really replacing a BDR function potentially, and actually having early conversations with someone on the phone to book a meeting or whatever. So I think that's a ways out, but like very much so in the foreseeable future, I would think. We'll see.
Did you guys hear the drums of earlier this summer about the movie that, or oh gosh, I'm gonna have it wrong. Retract. I'll have to come back up with that.
Abort mission. We're moving on from that.
And it was about voice, AI voice, but yeah.
Well, I mean,
it's right.
I just heard.
We're in a year, right? Let's acknowledge it's an election year. There's going to be a lot of coverage of edited videos and even AI enhanced videos. We're already, able to have on the more interesting, on the positive note. So the Olympics are presently on. So when you listen to this podcast, know that this was recorded in late July, early August. And the Olympics are on, and Xfinity with NBC created an AI solution where Al Michaels, the sportscaster, has a customized AI enhanced recap tailored to you using his voice. And it is totally AI backed. And so that's a really interesting use case of how, I love sports, but I can't get through it all. And so if I wanted to just pay attention to these, 3 types of events, in the morning, Al Michaels will have a recap for me in his voice for me. And so that's an awesome example of how video and how audio can be enhanced. Now we also know it could be used lots of different ways. And so I think there's some really positive ways we could help make it customized and personal, in addition to the ones that, you're hearing about on.
So somebody needs to take that idea and put it into the event space. Because can you imagine a tool like that for large conferences where you can't make it to every session? I mean,
right.
Love that. Yeah. That's like needs to happen because there's so much that goes on at these large conferences. Love that, Nisha.
Yeah. So the story I was mentioning with Scarlett Johansson says that OpenAI copied her voice from the movie Her.
Mm-hmm.
And they did.
She was not happy about that either.
No, she had declined to be the voice. And so they just went and created an AI version.
Yes, that is not good.
So I think
the legal proceedings will continue.
Those are the two sides of it. There's the Scarlett Johansson, and then there's the Olympics where it was clearly an approved, signed off on, and endorsed use of his voice.
Yeah, that's right.
It's going to be an interesting path forward.
Yeah, I just listened to a segment on NPR. A senator just gave her first speech to the Senate floor. I think it was congressman, woman. She gave a speech. She's got Parkinson's, I believe, and can no longer talk. Mm-hmm. And they used recordings of her voice in the past. And she was able to, they typed out, I guess, her speech in advance, and she gave her speech in her voice, or the AI tool did it. So there's some phenomenal things that are possible, but
absolutely think of the
all of these tools can be used for good and evil, right? So It's like, how do we leverage them for the best possible intent, mm-hmm. or really amazing cocktail recipes, mm-hmm. whatever.
That's my fave.
I know. Why not?
Cool. Well, what as we kind of keep the conversation moving, we've talked about marketing, sales. What have you seen? We've talked about the things we like and what's working and what's kind of up and coming. Has there been any just like boners out there, like do-over, it's not there yet moments that you've had?
I'm still in awe that you have found. You and I need to sync up on these tools that you're using to really enhance imaging, because some of these picture photo tools are still horrific. I mean, people's faces look like they're melting. They've got extra hands, extra eyeballs. I mean, I think image, AI is still got a ways to go, particularly when it comes to people. I mean, in my work, I'm always looking for a diverse cast of characters, both, ability, age, race, etc. And that is hard to find in good stock photography. And so, and expensive to create otherwise. So if AI can help with that, phenomenal, because it's not like those pictures actually exist in real life most of the time. So, I've looked, I've tested, I'm still unsatisfied.
That's right.
Yeah, that's fair. I believe we're using Shutterstock and the embedded AI that they have to take their stock photography and alter it.
Beautiful.
I played with creating a graphic in Canva, a marketing graphic, using AI, and it was about the funniest thing I've ever seen. It wasn't even, I'd love to say that it was Greek or Russian. I don't know what it was. It was insane. And I tried it 10 ways to Sunday. Like, just like, am I saying the input wrong? I clearly was. But the result, oh, it was so terrible. It was so terrible. So I keep getting advertised to about Canva's great AI. And I'm like, all right, I'll go back. I'll try again. But it was, my early results were very poor. So I agree with you, Amanda. I have not conquered visual AI. I also tried to get an image created using Dolly, and could not get something that was functional for what I was looking for. Tried.
And I think this is where prompt engineering is super interesting. So I was at a tech Chicago event yesterday, and I was sitting with a chief creative officer from an agency, and he was sharing, we see that this unlocks the ultimate creativity. You're starting with a blank page, a blank prompt. You have to be highly imaginative to figure out what to say next. And also, you will always need the human lens to look it over. And the example he shared was, you have very polarizing and alarming images like, Nazi uniforms, but then the people in the uniforms would not be wearing those ever. Right? People of color, people of different, and a range of ethnicities. And so he said, here's an example where it could speed up what you do, but the prompt needs to be right and the checking needs to be right. And I thought that was so fascinating because I know the idea of unlocking creativity, of shortening the cycle to help you do more or different or better is really interesting. And that idea of a blank sheet is still so, inspiring to me. You have to start from the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You made a great point. Everything needs a quality review. Everything, and a thorough quality review.
Yes.
We're in regulated spaces, all of us. We've all worked in different and highly regulated spaces. And, we had a speaker at one of our customer events recently, and, she shared in healthcare, if you can achieve 95% accuracy, maybe that's okay, but does that mean 5% mortality? And obviously, no, it is not an acceptable rate. But the flip side is, what if 95% of the analysis, and you could insert any number of types of analysis, that frees up to just analyze very closely the 5% that's been detected by a clinician or by an expert who could then spend more time on those 5% of cases that require more attention. A simpler example is if it's scanning radiology, 95% of these can be auto-scanned and 5% could be reviewed for more detail. And so I love that version of it because absolutely we would never accept 5% mortality, but we would accept freeing up the clinician or the expert to do the work at a more deeper level on that 5%.
I agree. It's a great point. And I do actually think we have so much to say on that side of this equation of AI and how to use it ethically, responsibly, and what are the right sort of placeholders or boundaries to put in place, or compliance, processes to put in place to make sure that you're using it responsibly. So we should have a whole talk on that at some point
later.
And I'll ask our listeners too, if you have great AI tools that you've used and you want to recommend, we'd love to check them out, because I think that's fun and exciting. And we're all interested in continuing to move our organizations forward, as well as just learn new things and see what new is out there. And then I do want to wrap us up here in a couple minutes. I will ask everyone, what is the weirdest thing you've asked AI to do, or maybe the most interesting that would be funny for other people to just know about and maybe get ideas from? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll share one. We, our company has a mascot that is a dragon, and we, for one of our annual kickoff events, had used AI Midjourney Dolly to drag in everybody who was a speaker. And so, the distinction was, this leader has, a small ponytail, and this leader has, some distinctive, sideburns or facial features. And so we were able to drag in several different people, and it was fun to see those revealed. And they were surprisingly accurate, in terms of just how the description evolved. It took a lot of prompt engineering, but it was fun to see that come to life. And that was definitely an out of bounds, kind of odd, but fun one.
I don't know.
That's exciting. I love it.
Yeah, I think that's great. I ours isn't so crazy, but I did use it to plan an entire graduation party. Like, it just front to back, like all the details. It was great. I mean, I didn't follow everything in it, but it gave me that outline in less than 5 minutes, and that was pretty helpful. So,
were you pushing on the prompts a lot, Laura, or was it just like one question, it spit out an outline, and you went with it?
Mm-hmm. It was real. I gave a pretty detailed, like, I'm holding it from this time to this time, and there are going to be this many people, and this is the setting. What do I need to think about? And it just dropped in absolutely everything. My shopping list, all of the details. It was great.
That's cool. Amanda, what about you?
That's pretty fantastic.
Yeah,
I mean, I've used it on everything from like drafting communications to teachers to like, hey, I need to send a note to this teacher about this, or this is a little bit complicated. Help me out here. I want it to, and streamline it. I love to use it to streamline my content. It is not exciting, but I will tell you, like, simplification, like I think we could all use a little lesson in how to be concise. And it has been a great resource for that. I think the one thing that I have used it for that has been a lot of fun was helping me plan a trip. And so helping me think through, like, what are the times and, how much time do I need to spend here, or how long is it going to take to get from X to Y. So that's been great, just to at least give me like the rough outline, and even offer a few suggestions for places to stay, stop, visit along the way. So yeah.
I love it. On the one you mentioned, on the use case you mentioned about being more concise, did you give it a word count, or what prompts did you use to drive your outcome?
I mean, I always, in every communication, if I'm working on a communication, I always, if I draft something, I say, edit for clarity and conciseness, always. Like, that is invariably like part of the prompt is, if I've drafted it and want somebody to, but otherwise that's usually just a starting point. I can do that. The beauty of a Gemini is it'll give me 3 drafts, and I can take a look and see if there's one that can better meets my needs. But I think the other thing is I'm always specific about who the audience is. And so, like, if I'm sending a note to a teacher, it's like, well, they're going to make sure that the language is cleaner and tighter and shorter and more succinct anyway. So that was my experience, or taking my husband's communication, and he's talks a lot. So, and streamlining it. So yeah.
I will give the feedback often, reduce it by 50% or reduce it by 30%, just to tighten. So telling it to be concise is probably better, but I will frequently get too much back and be like, okay, I need it shorter.
Yeah,
I've done that too.
I think I used it recently to plan a walking tour of a local neighborhood here in New York for my team. And I wanted historical references and explanations around the graffiti art in the neighborhood and all of that kind of thing. And because I wanted it to last a certain length of time and, take us in a certain direction and stop for coffee and little, different cafes along the way. And it did a great job. I did have to probably ask it 5 or 6 times to go into more detail and like get more facts and get more information and that kind of thing. But not bad. We're actually going to use it. So
that's super fun.
Yeah,
you'll have to tell
cool.
us if it actually got you to your stops, right?
Yeah. I mean,
that will be.
I am a New Yorker. I will figure it out if it doesn't, but yeah, I will
obviously,
let you know.
But did it do the real, or did it give you like the alternative version of New York?
That's so funny.
Yeah.
I'll let you know if hallucinations were part of this equation.
Great idea though, right? And I love that you're thinking about how your team could benefit from, I'm assuming not all are New Yorkers. You'd want them to see some interesting things. And that's a great example of a team building experience.
Cool. I, as usual, loved our time together today. Thank you for the great ideas. And again, I'll ask our audience if you've got recommendations, tools that you're using for marketing or sales or anything else. We're here for it. We'll try it all and we'll report back on how we feel. Thank you, ladies, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks so much,
everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. That's a wrap for this episode of CMO's Off Script. This podcast was made possible by Breezy Hill Marketing. Don't forget to explore the podcast notes or cmosoffscript.com for additional insights and resources. Until next time, be bold and stay curious.